off to Monika. She is going to walk us through her installation and talk a little bit about her work. And then at the end, we will have some time for question and answer. So if you do have questions, please submit them either in the Zoom chat or in the comment section if you're watching us on Facebook Live. And then I will ask them of Monika when we get to the end. But I will hand it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm Monika. Welcome to my installation. So in the biennial, there was a piece that had several cups of yellow liquid and pregnancy tests. And the title of that is called "The Realization That the Result Will Never Change." And that is based off of a larger installation that I did in Wichita at Monika House. And so here I had made it even larger. So I'll just say, come on in. So here is the installation. There are 365 pregnancy tests and 365 pregnancy test boxes. This piece represents 1 year of trying to conceive a baby girl. And my husband and I, we have four boys, and we do not have any girls. And so part of my work is about the lack of a daughter, where I always just assumed that I was going to be a mother to, at least one, if not several daughters. And so that's kind of created this, I don't know, obsession that I kind of, I don't know, expanding on. So this room also has mirrors on all four sides, but all the way across both sides, so that it creates an infinity effect, where I think about it going on forever and ever and never ending. So yeah, I guess maybe I could talk about so this is based off of an actual bathroom in a house, and so it has all of the fixtures, a sink and a toilet and a bathtub, and also a vanity, and so basically just kind of what you would find in a house, a larger scale, and
maybe it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit about the color pink.
Oh, sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of that in the
Okay.
installation. We'll see more.
Sure. Well, also there's the video is of it's called Where It Hurts, the Performance, and it is well. So I started this 18-month-long performance piece where I dressed in pink and wore pink and colored my hair pink, wore pink every day, so that people would see me and see my pink and would relate that to my work, and also hopefully, from now on, relate the color pink to when they see the color pink to my work. So it involved, everybody that I encountered as part of the performance, and I documented it on Instagram. So, but So it came from the blood, like the actual literal blood from miscarriage. And I started thinking, well, how do I get past this? How do I, move on? And I feel like I have to add goodness and light and white to that blood, to that deep, dark red crimson, and that no matter how much white I add to it, it stays pink. It will never go back to red. It will never go back to white. It will never be completely gone. Will never be completely white again. And so I kind of feel like pink really explains how I feel about not having a daughter and the miscarriages, and how it will never be, I'll never be away from that. I'll never recover from that. That it'll always be in my mind and part of me. So, and speaking of the blood, we can move into here. You can probably see it behind me a little bit, but. So this piece is called Pain Without Relief, Love Without End. And it is it's a large fetus atop a shiny vinyl fabric blood pool. And so this piece started as a small pillows. I started making these small pillows. They were, fetus shaped pillows that were really soft, and I would embroider and put sequins and beads on them, and really make them pretty. But they were pillows, and they were about this size, and they were a fetus, and they were about the size of like a newborn baby, but they were so I was one day I was looking at it, and I was in a critique, and we were talking about the pillow and how it looks so soft, and I kind of just wanted to crawl in there and wrap it around my body, and so that I wanted to shrink. So then I made a large one. It was about the size of a beanbag, but it wasn't quite. I was successful that I could sit in it, but it didn't like fully engulf my body. And so I made this one. And this is Where It Hurts 8. And there's a performance still where I go inside of that little area there and wrap the fetus around my body. It's also like a role reversal of mother and child, being a womb that is supposed to be safe and protective to a newborn baby. But then when you have a miscarriage, then it doesn't do that anymore. It's no longer what it's supposed to be. And so I have this giant fetus that I can crawl in there, and I can wrap it around my body and make me feel better. So maybe I need to do that right now. And so then the red vinyl fabric is also one of the pieces that were in the biennial. And in a smaller scale, and it was a velvet, deep crimson velvet, and the embroidery and all of this care and that I put into it. But it's just it's a mess, or something that you would normally like clean up and get rid of. But I'm making it important. And so so that's what this piece is. So yeah, okay.
I'm going to try to talk so they can hear me on the Zoom. So I'll try to be a little bit louder. This was all part of Monika House, correct?
Based off of it, or yeah. So
which was, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
And that installation?
Sure. Okay, so for my my MFA thesis exhibition, I converted a large Victorian house into my personal dollhouse. So I took my sculptures and I kind of played in this real life-size house, and just thought of these scenarios and these things that either inspired the piece, or that I thought of because of the layout of the house, and the rooms in the house. So like one of the rooms was a library, and it was the history of me. Like it was my mother's history, my grandmother's history, my history, and then the history of my non-existent daughter, and it was filled with all of these dresses and toys and things that I would normally pass down, lace and tablecloths and things that I would normally pass down to a daughter, but there's nobody to pass them down to, so they just will like no longer exist after I'm gone, at least in the same way that they exist for me, that because they were my mother's or my grandmother's. And then there was like a dream bedroom that was like a cross between a reproduction of my childhood bedroom, and a like an imaginary what I always wished I had, or what I always wished I would have for my daughter. So I had this giant canopy bed, and it had my actual childhood furniture, this little girl furniture that I carried around with me because I just figured I would pass it on to my daughters. And so I have this furniture that I decided that I was just going to use it for my work now, that because I don't have a daughter. And then there was another room like directly above that was the reality room, and that was just filled with furniture covered in plastic and sheets, and then I had all of this little girl furniture that was covered in lace, and kind of what really happened. Like that's what I've really done with all of this furniture, is just kind of stored it away, because I can't give it to somebody else, and I can't use it. My sons can't use it. I can't use it as an adult because it's very childlike. And so yeah, so it's like just stored and forgotten, but not. So and I don't know. I want to talk about.
Well, I do have a couple questions.
Okay.
Sorry. I do have a couple of questions coming in, and one is specifically related to this installation. In your installation of the blood pool at Monika House, the pool was made out of a velvet material. Is there a specific reason you decided to change the material for this installation?
Yes, so I wanted it to look more wet and fresh, and so I decided that like a vinyl, a shiny vinyl, or a patent vinyl would kind of convey that wet and like it's right now, instead of being like something that I've just saved, and that it's here, but this is right now, and so that's why it's wet. And also I don't know, I feel like that also kind of I guess maybe lends to the uncomfortable, like, yeah, because for the viewer.
Another question, you don't encounter many artists dealing with this side of maternal issues? What feedback are you getting from the public?
Oh, wonderful. So yeah, it's not something I really thought about when I started making this work. I just was digging deep into my own feelings and emotions, and this is the most painful thing ever, and so like that's why I'm making work about it. And then I was asked, what are you going to do with this platform? And well, goodness, I hadn't thought of that. So really, I hope that it at least opens up conversation, maybe not about specifically miscarriage, but conversations between women about things that we go through and things that we haven't, things that have been hidden and that we don't talk about. And it's also, I've also got a lot of response from men who have gone through a similar situation, and and it's emotional for men too, and so I'm hoping that maybe that they will kind of, I don't know, feel some of that and understand some of that, and that, I don't know, it's just so that women's issues are important and need to be talked about.
So one of the things that I really enjoy about your work, and it kind of stems from this conversation a little bit, is the fact that you are not making things for other people's comfort, and your work can be uncomfortable. But I feel like you embrace that so well. And I'm kind of curious, from your personal practice, like, how does it feel to take these very, very personal experiences and make them very public?
Well, first I try to deflect and laugh and make a joke or something, because it is so personal, and it does, like, if I don't actively try to not cry, then I will. So it is kind of a strange situation. Like, I want people to kind of experience it and have this emotional response to it, and really, yeah, it's not something that you're going to take home and put in your living room. So but I hope that people will just think more, and kind of contemplate, like, as they leave, and think about it again, like later, like after they see the show, and then that maybe it gets stuck in their head, like, what is why, or how things. So
Is that kind of like when you started working as an artist? Is that something that you thought about throughout your practice, or is it something that was kind of?
So, well,
obviously you grew out of these personal things.
Right. Okay, so I started, I became an artist or something. Well, I've been an artist like as far back as I can remember. And so, yeah, I did my undergrad. I studied ceramics, but I still had like lots of other classes and other things that I would bring up. And looking back, I do see a lot of maternal things in that work, and so now it feels like I've been making this work forever. I mean, and it's probably only been 7 years, I think. But the idea about a daughter and about history and passing down keepsakes, like I made, like, well, I started out making miniatures. Oh, I forgot to say something about that. I started making miniatures, using like my own things from my childhood, and that was really kind of how I started. And then now I'm making these huge installations. So I don't know, it's kind of flipped, I guess. Yeah.
Excuse me, another question from a viewer. Do you find this art process therapeutic, or do you feel trapped by the grief or by reliving it?
So yeah, well, and it is, it's very cathartic. It helps me kind of work through things, but yes, at the same time, I don't want to, get completely like through this emotion. I want to hold on to some of this because of this work that's coming out of it. And I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to do next. And so, it feels like it's an endless well of, pain. And so I could, I feed off of that. And so I do hold on to it, but I also am working through it. Well, when I first started talking about it, I couldn't get through anything without crying. And so, so the more I talk about it, the easier it gets to cry, to not cry, to not let my emotions take control of me, and just take a boost. And so that definitely helps. Since it's not something that we talk about anyways. It's hard to talk about. So yes, it's both actually. I do hold on to it, hold on to this probably, more than maybe is healthy. But I'm also accepting it, and I'm moving on, and kind of, but using it at the same time.
Did you want to go back and I had a couple other questions, but I think we can talk a little bit more about this thing.
Sure. So I was talking about miniatures, and so did you see it?
Oh, no.
Okay, so earlier last week we were talking about building this room, inside of a room, this gallery inside of a gallery, because this large gallery, and my amazing husband built this whole room, and it's a room inside of a room. Well, so I made this miniature of the gallery, and so it has it has a little gallery inside of it. And then did you see the little on the table? Is
a little miniature.
There's another little miniature. So it's a gallery inside of a gallery inside of a gallery inside of a gallery. So I kind of like that. Yeah, did you have more?
Well, this might be a good segue for I know, like, in some of your other writing, and then in like Monika House too, like doll houses and dolls played a big role in your work. Can you talk a little bit more about that inspiration in your work?
Sure. Of course I had dolls, and I kept them. Like I had bins of toys and dolls, and one of my first things I don't know first, but I made slip cast doll parts, and then I kind of piled them up, and like they were incomplete, like they were never able to be put together and made into a doll to be given to a little girl and played with by a little girl. And so it's just this pile of doll parts that were just forgotten, or and so yeah, I pulled out all of my dolls from my childhood, and and people give me things. So, and I love it. So yeah, people like would you like this? Oh, yes, I would definitely. Give me boxes of dolls and furniture. This was one of the professors from WSU. And yeah, and so it's just kind of one of those things that you automatically think of little girl. You see a doll, and I mean, I didn't play with Barbie dolls that much. I had strawberry shortcake, but yeah, so there was a giant strawberry shortcake on the sofa in the Monica house, and then, I mean, of course, I'm kind of dressed like a giant doll, a giant doll. But yeah, because I really I feel like, it's part of this whole persona that I have, with the pink and the doll and the princess and everything girly that maybe I didn't even like that much when I was a child, but now I'm just like embracing it all, and I like unicorns and rainbows and dolls, and so it's yeah, it's kind of like just fully immersion, full immersion.
I think you had commented in one of your statements about this idea of, this nature versus nurture. Like, as girls, we're given all of these things when we're little, and how does that kind of change the way that we think about it when we're adults?
Yeah. Like, yeah, did I want a daughter because of just this internal instinct, or was I taught to want to be a mom and want to carry around a doll, and want to grow up and have babies? And there's really no good answer, because it's both. It is both. It has to be, just a like maternal instinct to want to reproduce, as humans, as animals, but the whole, with the little doll house, playing house, and preparation for caring for a home, like learning how to cook and the play sets and stuff. Yeah, that's a really touchy subject, because there's a lot of controversy about it. My boys played with like whatever they wanted to play with, so I'm not really like an advocate for gender, stereotypes at all. I just use it because I am, because I'm a girl and I like it.
Right.
So there are girls like certain things, yeah. So
yeah. Like I mean, yeah, it's so like all wrapped up into our culture, but
right.
Yeah, there's girls that like girly things, there's girls that don't. But,
right.
Since we're in this space, you and your husband constructed this space over the course of 2 weeks. And I know that in your kind of more professional lives, you guys are very interested in kind of building things. Can you talk a little bit more about like the process of building this?
Sure. So we built it. So we started out building it just like we would in any construction job, at working on a house, with 2x4s, and then we just used some masonite on the sides, because it was a little bit lighter weight. So yeah, we just built it like we were building an addition and a room in a house, or in a building. And let's see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know you sourced some things here, and you sourced some things from home. Like I think that mirror there is particularly like interesting, and
Yeah, and so one of the things that my husband and I are doing is we developed this nonprofit called Creativity Preservation Society, and we look for distressed older properties, Victorian, about that era, that we can save and restore and make beautiful again. And so yeah, we really kind of enjoy that kind of work. We're finding out the history of houses and incorporating that into their renovations. And so what we do is we find these distressed properties, and then we invite an artist from anywhere across the country to come and work for 3 months, like designing and fabricating all of the reparations, and then they get an intern or two to help them, and they also teach them whatever they know. So it's for master builder artists. Kind of made that up, but so people that are in construction and are knowledgeable, and so that they, but also like restoring historical buildings.
I think that's great. You guys, I think, do a lot to support other artists as well, and
oh, definitely,
Wichita and in the region and beyond. I do have one more question. And again, just a reminder, if you do have any questions. Okay. Is there anything that you have changed about introducing your work outside the original Monika House context? Is there anything about presenting your work in Salina that feels different or required a different approach?
Oh, definitely. So, here we are in a gallery setting. And this is so Monika House was in the neighborhood, and so I feel like I like that people were able to access my work easier because I was in the neighborhood and they drove by, they saw the sign or saw me working, and came by maybe that wouldn't go to a gallery. There's that disconnect between artists in the art world and everybody else. And I think that I'd love to break down that barrier. And so yeah, my approach was a little quite a bit different, knowing like that wasn't a neighborhood, and that I was hopefully going to have lots of the general people come by, and not people that were necessarily into art. So here, of course, the people have an expectation or whatever going to a gallery, and so yeah, I also had to be like careful of the floors and walls and stuff, and so I didn't want I didn't want to it's temporary, and so I needed to make sure that everything was going to be able to be put back to normal, or back to the way it was when I got here. And so that approach was definitely different. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's a different context. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really like about this is all of this attention to the detail. And I know you worked on these, and it's one of the things that I find incredibly exciting about this exhibition, because again, I think people could spend a lot of time in here and notice all of these little things. But if you want to talk about those boxes a little
bit. So I had a well, okay, the first incarnation of this was all over the floor was just the wrappers from the pregnancy tests. Well, because I get them in bulk, and they don't come in boxes. but I ordered a box, a pregnancy test, so that I could duplicate it and, replace, some of the text with like my name and the title of the show, and then Salina Art Center down here. And so there's 365 boxes here that my mom and husband and son even helped with, that we've been building for the past 2 days till 2 o'clock this morning. So but it's important that that there's 365, because this is part of the process of when you're like trying to get pregnant, testing every day, and of course it's a little over the top. You wouldn't have to test every day, because then you'd only need to test during certain weeks. So but yeah, so I wanted to make these little boxes, something that, I don't know.
I think one of one of the things about this installation, you were just talking about, well, obviously someone wouldn't be testing every day, but then again, but that idea is in your head,
right? Like every day. Yeah, because it's a year. And so this is kind of like it went with another piece called 52 Weeks. And it was 52 tiles that, there were like a collage sort of thing with them, like ribbons, and the background was like scrapbooking materials. And so my husband and I, we went to the store and just bought like stickers and buttons and, lace and all of this pink stuff. And then there's 52 of them. And so each tile represents one day, trying to get pregnant. And, each one represents 1 week. So like the first week, where you're trying, you're waiting for ovulation and testing for that. And then, during ovulation, actively trying to get pregnant. And then a week of waiting to see if you're pregnant. And then another week of like whether, either elation or, despair. And so, so that, that there was, it went around, they were placed like a calendar, and they went around this room on all, there's an octagon room on all 8 sides, just like this never ending thing. So
like the infinity ring.
Right. It goes on forever. So yeah.
If anyone has any last questions for Monika, please submit them in the chat or on Facebook Live. Just a couple reminders for everybody watching us out on Facebook and in Zoom. The exhibition Where It Hurts is up now. It's open through March 28th. Our gallery hours are Wednesday through Sunday from 11 to 5 p.m. and it is always free and open to the public. And so please come in and spend some time with these works and get to know Monika's work. And I think it's really wonderful and a wonderful opportunity to have this here. Did you have any other final comments or?
Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me do this. Thank you to Ksenia for, choosing me. Thank you, to my husband and my mom, for all of their work. And so, yeah, so everybody's been really, really great and welcoming. And so it was a really nice experience.
Your family all together. You guys just, it's so wonderful to see your work so supported through your family. Just them all.
Yeah, definitely.
Together for you. It's exciting.
Definitely, yeah. I do. I feel the love.
All right. Thank you again, everyone for joining us. You can please come in and check out this amazing exhibition.